and welcome back to
Bunso Bites.
I'm your host, Ami43.
And I'm your co-host, Chiggy.
And on today's episode, I think it was something we mentioned on a previous episode. We were like, let's talk about the Panini, because it's been 5 years. At least,
it has.
Yeah. Well, it's been 5 years since it started, I think. And then obviously each state kind of opened up of its own accord in different ways.
Right.
I know for us, we were probably under hard lockdown for 24-ish months, 18 to 24 months.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then step by step, probably like another 12 to 18 months until I would say like 2024 for us was like semi back to normal for all intents and purposes. But yeah, it was, wow, what a weird time. And it's also very surreal thinking about, or at least the way I'm thinking about it is us planning a wedding now, because not even 2 years ago, you couldn't even think about trying to organize something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a very surreal, it was a surreal chapter when it happened. We're obviously very grateful that we were able to get through it. The majority of our friends and family got through it without any problems. And we had a couple, we ourselves did catch the COVIDs. So that was an experience, but yeah, let's jump into it. So I don't know, I know very distinctly the timeline for me was I started working at my job, and then less than 6 months later we were put on full telework. Now at my job specifically, you have to work there technically about a year before you get like permission and authorization to telework. Like they're just like, hey, just get through your first year, and then we'll give you telework once or twice a week. And I was like, okay, great. But then that all changed when we found out, I think we found out January, there was a case in North Carolina, which if you don't know, we're in Hampton Roads, which is Virginia, and that's a state below it. It could have been February, it was at the beginning of the year. But I remember it went, at least for me, like it was the last week before, and this was in March, the last week at work. Monday, we had a team meeting, and we're like, hey, this thing, it's on the East Coast. We're keeping an eye on it. Everyone just kind of be alert. We'll send out communications as things change. Tuesday, they were like, okay, well, everyone just make sure you have your telework training in order. And me and another girl at the time, we literally just started not even 6 months prior, and we were like, well, what do we do? Because we don't even have access to that training because we weren't authorized for it. And then our supervisor was like, oh yeah, don't worry, like we still haven't received guidance, like don't worry about it, they'll let us know, whatever. Wednesday, first thing in the morning, my supervisor came by my desk and my other coworker's desk, we started at the same time, and was like, hey, I just got granted, I have this access code or whatever, do your telework training today. Thursday morning, I got a telework agreement signed and dated and sent to supervisor / like the command. Friday, I was teleworking fully. Like it was less than a week, and I was already full on teleworking. And it was so crazy because, I mean, I remember it started in North Carolina because someone caught it from Seattle and they took a flight back home to North Carolina. And then it just happened. Like you blinked your eye and all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay. And we were all just at home. So yeah, that was terrifying to say the least. What about you? What do you remember from when it first started?
Oh, so for me, I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going on. I was just at work doing my thing, training people, and then I remember like the weeks heading up to the day that we all got sent home. I just remember like our branch manager being frantic about getting everyone some type of remote way to connect to the network. And so
like the laptops, you mean? Or
no, that was after.
Oh, okay.
But when it first happened, I still had a desktop.
Oh,
I had my tower still, and I bring my tower, 3 screens home, and then all the wires to connect to that.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. You brought the whole... It filled up his whole trunk. I remember. Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
and
okay,
so they installed like a little chip or like a USB thing in the back of my tower, and then they tested it right before sending me home.
Okay.
And like it was probably like maybe 2 days before it actually broke out on the East Coast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like one of the last people to leave work that day, because they were like getting people set up one by one, and then as they got set up, they were sent home.
Oh,
and since I
just
was
like that, just chugging people out.
And since I was like still training somebody, they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have you be one of the last people."
Oh, they wanted you to get through whatever you're training.
Right.
Okay, okay, okay.
And
that's
so,
fair, yeah.
It was like maybe 4 in the afternoon already by the time they were hooking me up to get that little thing installed into my computer. And then they're like, okay, yeah, so from now on, just, use this to get onto the network, work from home until further notice.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? What's going on?
Oh, you had no idea.
I had no idea. I didn't even know what it was at the time. They're just like, well, yeah, just
no
work
one
from
knew.
home.
Yeah, no one knew when it first started.
I was like, work from home? Are you serious? That's cool.
Are you okay with me?
Right?
Yeah.
And so I got sent home, and then the day that I got sent home, I went home, installed everything, and then made sure that I was able to connect to the network that night. So that tomorrow morning when I rolled out of bed, I just had to do the same thing and then get straight to work.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was a great time because as an introvert, I'm just like, no more seeing people, no more going to work. That's cool with me.
Staying at home, yeah.
But yeah, that was like my first experience with it.
Yeah, it was. I don't necessarily directly follow the news, but I think I have a good pulse for things. Yeah, I do remember that at that time it was. I'm not one to necessarily directly follow the news because I agree with you, for me anyways, it's a little bit hard because a lot of times it's doomsday stuff and then my mental health goes down. But at the same time, I think I have a pretty good pulse for things. Like I try to keep my eye out for major news stories, particularly since I do work for the government. So a lot of things can affect my work or things like that. And so I found out about it at work, but also my family was kind of like talking to me about it, like, hey, if you hear about this thing, like, keep an eye out for it. Because again, it was like, oh, it's in North Carolina now. So like, just kind of be careful. If you see someone sick, like stay away from them. And everyone was just kind of just like, this is weird thing. Like we didn't really know what it was. We just knew that it was this weird sickness that was going on and it was spreading very quickly. And both of my parents were previously, they're retired now, but they were health professionals. And so they, their advice to me was just like, wash your hands, stay away from, anything that's not necessary. Just do the normal health hygiene type of a thing. And at this point, like no one was panicking. It was just like, okay. But then again, I think for me, it really was that last week where it wasn't necessarily that people started panicking, but how quickly it got serious for us was an indication to me of, oh, this isn't just let's all wash our hands and blow our nose into tissues and cough into our elbows type of a thing. Like it was very apparent, like from the get-go, that, oh, this is actually something that we need to take seriously, or like we need to be, aware of and cognizant of, especially in our area. And yes, it did reach Hampton Roads pretty quickly after it reached North Carolina. So it was like, oh, okay, this is a thing, and we need to be very, very careful. So, and also it was really weird for you and I to navigate our relationship, because all of a sudden I'd go from seeing Chigi every day to like, oh, I'm not actually allowed to see you, because like the rules were kind of like put into place of you can only hang around your household, and it was like this weird like, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to figure things out? Mind you, Chigi and I live 7 minutes away from each other. It is not that bad.
Right.
But he lives in his house and I live in my apartment and 7 minutes away. It's not like we're we were not together. So then I was like, okay, well, so then how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna figure this out? And due to the nature, I live with some relatives, including an elderly relative, and so due to the nature of kind of how we all tried to take care of the elder relative, it became very, very apparent that Chiggy was kind of just automatically part of the household, even though he didn't necessarily live with us. And so we kind of had this like rotating thing of like, oh, okay, so and so will get groceries this day, or so and so will take this shift to do this, and we all worked as a unit together. We are, as a group, we're 8 adults.
Yes.
Yeah, 8 adults as a group, and so it allowed us to kind of like, we were able to create a community within our family, lack of a better way of saying it, but in the best of ways, because everything happened very quickly. Like, we were shut down, mandatory masks out in places. I still at the time had relatives, the relatives that I'm talking about, they were still working, some of them were still working retail jobs and trying to navigate and figure that out, because we're like, you're not supposed to leave the house, but like your job is to leave the house, and at the time they were trying to determine what's considered essential workers, what are not. And it was a whole, just like the rest of the world, we're just navigating this thing and how to handle it. So the 8 of us really took what we had to do and kind of like put our heads down to make sure that we as a unit were safe and happy and healthy, and everything was good. We looked out for each other, and one of the greatest things was, blessings, especially for Chiggy and I, was because we had the jobs that we had, we were able to work from home, and that helped immensely, in taking care of certain things, while other family members who didn't necessarily have that luxury, they maybe had to take care of other things or do things differently. And it was crazy. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you remember this, when we would get groceries, we would Lysol the bags. Like, when we we would Lysol the bags and the packaging on groceries. And I remember it just, the amount of fear was crazy. Well, and it wasn't even fear. It was just the uncertainty of it, because it was so novel, and it was so just like, okay. And because we were taking care of someone who was elderly, we knew that we had to be very, very cognizant of, like, if one of us had a sniffle, we would very specifically stay away from our grandmother, essentially. And, we were not risking her, even like a hint of catching this thing. We did the double mask thing. We'd wear gloves. Like, we did everything. Again, I have health professionals in my family. So in a lot of ways, their base knowledge was of a lot of benefit to us. And yeah, we just we hunkered down. You and I worked from home I worked from home for 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, 4.5 years, give or take, because I only had to go back to work this year. So I've been working from home pretty much since the Panini until more recently. And yeah, I miss it. I miss it a lot. I don't like the commute. Honestly, it really is just that I don't like waking up an extra hour earlier. Well, an extra hour just for the commute, plus like getting ready. But getting ready, commute, working, 8-9 hours, commuting back another hour, and then being home and just being like, now I have to like do stuff like cook dinner, do laundry, whatever. And I'm just like, I could have been doing this while I'm at the house. So that was I do miss working from home also. Same as an introvert too. But yeah, what was, at least initially, how did you feel? Outside of the working from home part of it, because obviously that was like really, really great. There was a lot of benefits that came with that. But like, concerning, quote unquote, the state of the world, like when you realize the severity of the situation, how did that make you feel?
Oh, so for us, we just kept to ourselves.
I think so, yeah.
So
we tried our best to.
When we got sent home, and they told us to work remotely until further notice, we literally just stayed home. We didn't leave the house for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Even for groceries, we didn't even go out to get any. that's one of the things I wanted to touch up on, because there was such a frantic rush to get paper products and
Oh my gosh,
disinfectant and hand
That's
sanitizer and all
true.
that. And meanwhile, I'm just chilling at home, just like I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
Um,
There were weeks where you couldn't get toilet paper.
yeah. But I think because back then it was just me, my brother, and my mom, and if you know anything about my mom, she likes to hoard things.
Yeah.
And so we had a stock of paper towels, stock of toilet paper. We didn't use really sanitizer that much, so we made maybe like a bottle or two.
Right.
And then of course we had a bunch of food. We have a freezer in our garage.
Yeah, you had the extra freezer.
So we have an extra freezer with food packed in there, and then of course our fridge and freezer is already packed with food, and the pantry. And so we were set to like live in the house for like a good 2-3 months without
Bunker
leaving. And like when I heard about this frantic race to get like paper goods and all that, I was just like, for why? Like, I don't use that much paper products.
Right.
Like even if I do use toilet paper, like I use enough to get it wiped just a little bit, and then I'll just jump in the shower. And so I do all my business in the shower because you got to clean up anyways. And so I would use less paper product that way. And then if I needed to use paper towels, as a Filipino, you just use regular towels.
True.
So instead of using all paper products, we just reused like towels and like kitchen towels and all that.
Right, yeah.
So we didn't really have a struggle with paper products. But I guess the only thing that was hard for us to get used to was wearing those face shields.
The face.
Yeah, the one that looks like glasses.
Oh,
and then you had the
plastic
plastic
acrylic.
shield
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right over your face. Like getting used to that at first was really weird, because I was like, I already have glasses on.
Yeah.
And then you want me to put another pair of glasses on top of that.
Yeah.
That's blocking like my face.
Right.
And so I don't ever want to go back to wearing contacts because I keep forgetting to take them out. And so that's why I always wear glasses. So just having that extra pair of glasses with the shield on was like, this doesn't really fit right, because I already have glasses
on. Glasses, yeah.
So that was weird. And then they had a mixture of, we need the face shield and then a mask. I was like, okay, now you're suffocating me because I can't breathe.
Yeah.
But yeah, going out like that was really weird.
Yeah.
And so when I finally like met up with you to like go out and get groceries with the masks on, I was like, this is really weird. And that's when it finally hit me.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm like walking semi close to people, and I'm just like, hold up.
Yeah. Or like being cognizant of your bubble, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was crazy. Yeah, I remember when we went to get groceries, and like, I mean, we were suited up. Like, if we could wear hazmat suits, we would have. We had face masks. And I remember, at least for me, I don't remember if you did it that first time, but I did it a couple times, because again, I had the disposable mask and like a handmade cotton one, which shout out to, we had so many wonderful friends and family who handmade us really cute masks. Like, they made us like Pokemon ones and Disney ones and stuff, and that was really, really sweet of them. But like, I remember I wore a disposable mask. I had the cloth mask on top of that. We had the face shield on top of that. I was double gloved. Like, it was, I felt like I was like going to like a lab experiment or something. Like the way we're set up, like a chemistry class or something. And it was just, and you know me, I have syncope, so like the feeling of like not being able to breathe properly, or like how hot it can get, because like the hot air stays like next to your face. That was I had to, it wasn't necessarily that I had to get over that fear, but it was more of just like I had to push that fear away for like all the times that like I was, not in the car. Like, I was just like, you just gotta suck it up, you just gotta do it, And I distinctly remember I saw this girl, like, she made a video, and she's just like, she has one of the, not pulse oximeter, the one that like measures your oxygen, because she actually has breathing problems, and she's like, those of you guys who complaining who can't breathe through the mask, you can. And she like proved it or whatever, and I was like, it's true, it's all in my head, but like also I just have syncope, and I'm like, I don't want to pass out. So it's just like, okay, yeah, I believe you, but also my face is really, really hot right now.
Right.
But yeah, and then we lived like that. Well, and to be fair, like, after like the kind of initial wave of uncertainty, I think we very quickly fell into a routine, which helped a lot. We had a specific day that we were going to the grocery store. Family had specific days that they were doing other, like, we all fell into like this routine, and we all had an idea of like, okay, this is what we all need to do to keep things going, to keep us going without going crazy. And again, you and I had the luxury of being able to work from home, so that made it really, really easy. And yeah, and then at that point, I think it wasn't even necessary that I was enjoying it, but as so often stated, it became the new norm. Like, it was just like, okay, this is what's normal now. And I'm so grateful that we had our family to kind of ground us that way. Like, it forced the routine very, very quickly, but by having a routine, it felt very like there was a relief of like, okay, we don't know what's happening necessarily, as in like, this is when we didn't know what COVID was, or we didn't know like what, why it was this or how it came to be. Like, obviously all that stuff is clearer now, but in the moment, in the time, it was just like what we do know and what we can do right now. And what we were doing right now was working, and we were working together with our families to just be like, okay, this is what we do, and this is the new norm, and it's okay. But yeah, so going into all of that, something that happened, and I'm still torn on this, but for sure, we know Chiggy experienced COVID.
Yes.
Me, on the other hand, we don't know. Because I tested negative every single time. When he got sick, I was with him, and it was impossible for me not to get it, because we were together, we were spending time together, and we were stuck together for, hours on end. But I kept testing negative. However, I don't know, there's a part of me that's like, I'm pretty sure I got it, because I was semi-unwell. It wasn't anything serious. I just had a little dry cough or whatever, but...
Oh, yeah.
But it kept testing negative, so it was just like, we don't really know. In my head, I believe that I had it too, even though my test results said otherwise. But it happened when we went to Florida to visit my best friend, and I brought Chiggy to Disney for the first time. And at this point, everything had opened up again, but people were still wearing masks out and about. But there was no, like, the lockdown part of it was done, because this was oh gosh, I don't know what year, 2023 maybe?
Probably.
So like the end of 2023. And so Disney was open, clearly. So like, it wasn't like we were the only people out there trying to be crazy or whatever. But yeah, on the way home, we drove to Florida, drove back to Virginia. So I was in a car with this man for 16 hours, both ways. 100% was with him, and it's just like, you can't say that I don't know, maybe the COVID test I took was broken. I don't know.
I don't think so. When I got it, I could definitely tell, I have symptoms.
Yeah.
Because we were in Florida, so it was hot.
Yes.
And I was still wearing a jacket in the heat.
Yeah,
because I was still shivering.
Yes, yeah.
So I knew then, because I even remember I had a jacket on, and then I got a blanket too, and we were eating outside.
And
I was like, I'm still cold.
And it's like Florida, like 80, 90 degrees out, and he's wearing a sweater with a fuzzy blanket. Like, he was shivering, and he was, I felt so bad. He was miserable. But it was, yeah, that was, we went to the Italian place, I think. Yeah.
We did. But the thing was, I had that symptom, but I didn't have any cough yet.
Right. Yeah. You were just like feverish.
Yeah, I was feverish. And so, I after we got home and we got done eating, I like burritoed up on the bed, and then like when I woke up after that, I was well again.
Okay.
Like I didn't have any feverish moments. But of course, on the way back home, you were with me the entire time.
Yeah.
And we got back home, and I was like, oh man, I have to quarantine now because I know I had it.
Well, I was gonna say, when we got back home from Florida, the first thing we did was take a test because we knew we had the tests at the house. Or no, did we take a test in Florida?
No, we took it when we got back.
We took it when we got back, because so I was staying with my best friend. He was staying with one of my other friends. And yeah, that's why, because we were just like, well, we have to still drive back to Virginia anyways. We'll just take the test when we get home. Plus, I think when we tried to look at the store, there was none available. And then, so yeah, we took the test when we got home in Virginia, and he tested positive. And we were just like, oh, snap. But again, I tested negative. We're just like, okay. And I very, very distinctly remember the thing that happened that made my heart break was when we got home. I don't know why. We were toasting bread, and we'd forgotten about it. And the bread burned in the oven, like acrid burnt. Like I smelled it, and I was like, oh, we forgot the bread. And I like ran out, and I checked the toaster oven, and I pulled it open. I was like, oh no, we burnt the garlic, whatever it was. Garlic bread. I can't believe we did that. And him walking up to me, looking at the bread, and he looked at me with these saddest eyes, and he's like, I can't smell it. And I was like, oh no. And everything like around me was just like, I got that like ringing, like in movies, I got the ringing in my ears of just, okay, he actually has it, even though I knew because we saw the test. But it was just like, okay, this is real. I was like, what's the protocol? Like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? Like, we need a quarantine. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, and I immediately call my family. I'm like, okay, I was with him. I tested negative, but like, I don't feel safe being around you guys. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, should I quarantine? Like, how are we gonna do this? And then we made a plan, and then we were just like, we need to quarantine you, specifically. So we put you like in your room, I think, or whatever it was. And it was just, oh man, it was not scary because I think by that time there was enough information out there that we're just like, okay, this is what we need to do. We knew that we didn't have to bring you to the hospital yet because your symptoms weren't severe enough. Because at this point, the only people that they were accepting were people who need to get like the breathing, what's it called? Like
ventilators.
Yeah, ventilators and stuff. And he was not at that point. He was fine. Like literally, other than like, I can't smell the burnt bread, he was fine. And you had a couple other symptoms. What were your other symptoms?
So when I had it, I think the time events were kind of mixed up because we didn't take the test until after I knew that I couldn't smell the bread.
Oh, was it after?
Yeah, it was after. So I had coughs after I knew that I couldn't smell anything.
Okay.
And that actually didn't even last that long. It was maybe like 3 days of like intense coughing, and then like after those 3 days, it was just like minutes later.
Great reenactment. A+
But
acting.
it wasn't severe because I know one of my friends who got it as well, and he was hospitalized because he could not breathe.
Yeah, he had a ventilator. Like he was, his was serious.
Yeah.
Yes.
But mine was nothing like that. Just, it kind of sounded like I had the flu. Just a regular seasonal flu.
A flu plus I can't smell burnt bread.
Smell.
Yeah.
And
it's so sad. It was so sad.
So let me retell the story. So we were making breakfast, and I guess it was garlic bread or whatever, and I was washing the dishes after we made breakfast. And you started to smell the bread, and you were like, babe, the toast is burning. And then you come running out. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then you come out and then you open up the oven,
Toaster oven.
the toaster oven. You take it out. And I was like, oh, snap, it's black.
Acrid. Yeah, like
I was like,
acrid.
I can't smell it. And then literally, I was like, I can't smell it. So that means I can't taste it. Right?
Yeah.
And then I started crying because I was like, I can't taste my food? You telling me I'm a fat kid? I can't taste food now?
Yeah.
No.
It was so sad.
I was so sad.
So sad.
When I finally knew that I had it. I ate that burnt bread. It was crispy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't taste any of it.
Yeah.
And I ate all of it.
It was black, y'all. Like, not even just black on one side, like burnt through. Like, I wouldn't have touched. You know how, like, sometimes you can, like, burn toast and you can, like, oh, let me just cut off the little burnt part? No, this was, like, blackened toast, like, through and through. And he still ate it. And I was like, oh, my gosh. He really can't smell or taste because that's, like, burnt bread.
Yeah.
And I felt so, seeing your face and your reaction to that, that shattered me. Because I was like, oh, my goodness. Like, that's so horrible. I feel so bad because you were so sad, and I was like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" And yeah, so we figured out like a quarantine situation for 2 weeks, but I'm pretty sure after a week and a half you were okay, right?
Oh yeah.
We were just doing you wait 2 weeks, take another test, and then if you're clear, then you're clear. But again, we were just trying to be safe with grandma nearby, but that was surreal, that's for sure. Because again, and I think we were just really good also about, we were able to establish like, okay, here's where you're quarantined, here's where I'm quarantined, let's just, play it safe, this is that and the other. Our families, thankfully, they worked around us and supported us, brought us food, all that type of stuff. But yeah, I feel like again, I'm so grateful that at the time that it happened, we had such a strong support system, or not even just support, but like we just had people that, like, if things went awry, we could work around it. Like, we can find an alternate solution. Like, oh, I can't go to the grocery store because I was exposed to his, positive, whatever. Okay, well then so and so will go to the grocery store. And we keep bringing up grocery store because it's like, I literally just keep thinking about how we would Lysol the plastic. That was insane. But we did it, and that's all you could really do during COVID was go to the grocery store, and go home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was our experience. He did actually test positive. I'm pretty sure at some point I was positive. We will never know because for whatever reason, the test was just like, no, you don't have it, and I'm like, okay, but I'm pretty sure I do, guys. But yeah, so what was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part about not just the Panini? Obviously the Panini was a horrible thing that happened to so many people were affected, and there's a lot of, things about that. But like, what was your favorite and least favorite part about maybe the lockdown, I guess?
Oh, favorite part was, of course, staying at home. I don't have to see anybody. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can do whatever I wanted at home, which is what I wanted to do anyways.
Valid.
Was stay home, work, and then after work, play video games.
Yep.
And then because video games, everything I play is online anyways, I'm already at home. I already have the games there. I just need to connect to the internet and start playing.
Yeah.
So literally I just went from downstairs because that's where my work setup was at. Come upstairs, turn on my console, and then just start playing.
Yeah.
That's all. It was like literally just like a 1 minute transition in between work and then doing free time stuff.
I miss the 1 minute commutes from your bed to your desk. Goodness.
So that was the best part.
Yeah.
The worst part was, finding out who didn't make it.
Yeah.
Because those were tough. Because I was like, oh my God, this person didn't make it.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, they were healthy too.
Right. Yeah. We knew a handful of people. Obviously, we knew a handful of people who caught it. We knew a handful of people. We lost a handful of people because of it, including healthy people, but also even some of our like our friends, like some other elderly people too, just because they couldn't make it through.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I agree with you. I enjoyed the the luxury of being at home and my 30-second commute to my desk. Um, but I agree. I think the hardest part was also just like I think everyone aged a lot over
Mm-hmm.
that time because everyone was stressed and everyone was worried and everyone's trying to look out for themselves and their well-being and their families. We were in a very positive and um what's the word? I don't even know. Like we're so blessed to have the situation that we had where we had so many people who were helping us even though we didn't necessarily need help, even if we didn't necessarily need help, but like we just had such a solid, group with our family that it was like, okay, we're chill, we're fine. So we did we did have the experience where you tested positive and we're pretty sure I was positive, but we will never know. And so that brings me to the story of, and again, we're so fortunate. We just know people. We have a friend who's a pharmacist, and because of that, Chigi and I were very easily and quickly
Mm-hmm.
able to get the vaccine. We opted to get the vaccine. Again, we live with someone who's elderly, and based on, we discussed it as a family, we discussed it as a unit. I even discussed it with my parents, and we all were in agreement that it would be best for our situation. So we were I don't even know how. I think it was just kind of like DMs and text messages with our
Oh yeah,
friend.
definitely.
Yeah. It was very, very sweet. Like, shout out to our pharmacist friend. She was very kind to us and very gracious and generous to give her time because obviously as a pharmacist she was super busy during this time, but she knew, I think also because she knew that we live with our grandma, so, or I live with my grandma, so it was important for us to
Mm-hmm.
to get it as soon as we could. Obviously, like we understood there were higher priority people, but yeah, so we opted to get the vaccine, and I was like, we took a selfie after, I'm pretty sure, when we got our vaccine, and it was crazy, it was surreal, like yeah, it was such a um weird time and a weird thing. What uh do you regret getting the vaccine, or
No, not at all.
because
Um,
we have other friends and family who didn't get the vaccine?
right, right. I'm just very grateful of how quick the process was for us
Yes.
to get everything set up and done.
Yeah.
It was literally just like not even like 2 days. It was like one day we messaged our friend.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "When are you free?" We were like, "At this time." She was like, "Cool, I'll schedule you. I can, do
Squeeze you in
a
right
quick
here.
one
Yeah.
in between appointments."
Yeah.
And so we went there at the appointed time. She was like, "Oh, hey, great, you're here. Let's get this done." Boom, bam. Did one shot, switched places, did the other shot,
And I held Triggy's hand and cried.
and then we were done. Like
That was
it
it.
was like 15 minutes total.
Not even. Yeah.
And I was just like, that was super easy.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know of other people that like they were waiting like for days and weeks
Yeah.
on end, and they couldn't get a spot for a vaccination.
It was hard to get an appointment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, maybe I should keep this to myself for now, because I got it done in like 20 minutes. Like,
Well, also this was at the time when the availability of the vaccine wasn't as widespread. They were prioritizing
mm-hmm.
healthcare workers, the elderly, and all that stuff. Caregivers and things like that. So yeah, we were really fortunate that we had the opportunity to get it that early on.
Right.
And I mean, believe what you will, because I feel like there's a lot of people who believe otherwise. I feel like because we got the vaccine, that's why your symptoms were not as severe. And I think it also is the reason probably why I kept testing negative, even though we were pretty sure I was positive, because my symptoms were definitely not, if I had any symptoms, I don't even remember, but like
Mm-hmm.
a head cold maybe. And so it's like, I feel like that was a contributing factor. I don't know. I'm not a science person. I believe in the science of it because, that's what makes sense to me logically. I know, like I said, there are people out there who completely disagree, and I think that's okay, because if that's how you view it, then that's how you view it, or if that's your opinion on it, that's fine. But I don't know. Numbers and graphs make sense. So I was following the numbers and graphs, and obviously the opinions of my family, medical professionals, and all that stuff, at least that were around us. So I never felt uncomfortable getting the vaccine, because I feel like a lot of people were uncomfortable because they're just like, you can't make it that quickly or whatever it was. But it was like, I mean, they did the thing that they had to do, But I digress. I mean, it was like Chiggy said, it was a very quick process. When it happened, I was holding Chiggy's hand, and I cried, because I always cry when I get shots. And it's not even that I cried because of the pain of the shot or the pain of the needle or thinking of the needle or whatever. It's just more of like the fear of, and the fear gets so overwhelming that I start crying, and then all of a sudden it's done. I'm like, okay, I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Even though nothing actually happened, or like, it really wasn't that serious. But that's how I am with any shot.
No, I remember now.
What?
So you were telling me that anytime you gotten a shot, you were always with your mom.
Yeah, I hold my parents' hand.
And this was the first time you got a shot without your
my
parents. And so you were like, I need to hold your hand. I was like, for why?
Because I'm a baby, and holding someone's hand, and like the tactile feeling of like someone squeezing your hand back.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you were like very scared and like tensing up so much. And then when our friend came in and, told you to relax and all that, you were able to relax that arm so that she can get the shot in.
And I was just looking at you the whole time.
And then with the other arm, you were squeezing the crap out of my hand. And then it came through, and you were like, oh, wait, it's done?
She was a G. She did it so fast. And I was like, oh, okay, great.
I was like, yeah, it was that quick.
Yeah.
And then you were like, you shed a tear afterward, and you're like, I'm so happy.
I was.
Yeah.
I was emotionally overwhelmed, and then I think genuinely, for me anyways, I was so happy that you and I were able to get it, and at that time it meant so much for my grandmother.
Right.
That was kind of like the like sigh of relief.
Yeah.
Of just okay, this will help, whatever that means. So yeah, I was very grateful for that. Yeah, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about or share? It was such a big and crazy chapter of our lives.
I just know that when we started to wear masks, I had such a hard time trying to wear a cloth mask.
Yeah.
Over the N95s.
Oh, the N95s, yeah.
Because the N95s were tight.
Yeah.
And so they would hurt my ears. And so I could probably wear those like maybe 1 or 2 hours before I had to take them off my ears.
Right, all right.
But
they didn't make them for chunky faces.
Yeah. I had a cloth mask that was really large, covered my face, and it would cover like the bridge of my glasses.
Yes.
And so it would have some ventilation up here where,
if I started chimney.
If I started breathing hard, it wouldn't fog up my glasses.
Right.
And I loved that thing so much. And then when it finally came time where we didn't need the mask anymore, I was like, no, my mask, my favorite mask. I had 3 masks. Yeah. And they were all cloth masks, but this one was like extra large, and it was just like, I can flap it open real quick, and it would like cover my entire face, and I was just like, I'm ready. But yeah, I love that thing to death. And then when it finally came time where we didn't need it anymore, I was just like, no, do it away.
Valid. Yeah, those masks carried a lot of they carried us through, that's for sure. We had a handful of cloth masks, but we also, like I said, I know I doubled up a bunch of times with the disposable and then the cloth mask on top. And then we would wear the N95s, which I did like the structure of those because they were like away from your face more so, like, and I don't have a nose bridge, so like sometimes if I were wearing regular cloth masks, it would just kind of fall. But the N95 ones have like the seam right here, so that structure was really great for keeping it like in place. So yeah. what a crazy time. And very intentionally, because a lot of people asked us, prior, like, why don't you guys get married during the Panini? Because, it'll be cheaper and it'll be whatever. And I don't think Chiggy and I ever doubted that we were trying to wait out the Panini. Now, obviously, if the Panini continued on and there was no end in sight, we'd probably have just been like, all right, we're just going to get married. Like, we don't want to wait. But there was also a part of it that was like, we wanted to get married on our own terms, and we didn't want to feel like we couldn't have the wedding that we wanted, or we couldn't have the wedding with the people that we wanted there, very specifically. Shiggy and I, both of our parents are far away from us, and so that's a big deal. We have relatives who are far away from us, and that's a big deal. Siblings and cousins and all that stuff. So having the Panini there was not really something that we considered, because in our minds we always kind of knew that, well, we have to wait until everything's okay so that we could, everyone can be here when we do get married. And then we waited and waited some more and waited a little bit more, and then Chiggy proposed to me. Yeah. Which, if you don't know the details of that, we do have a proposal episode out. You should listen to that. That was one of my favorite episodes. But yeah, that was our Panini recap, I guess. Let us know in the comments down below. Did you have any fun or funny? Let me not say fun, because the Panini was something very, very serious. But maybe any funny anecdotes over the course of the Panini. It was a weird time for everyone, I feel like, and everyone was just trying their best to figure things out. But I also feel like there was something really nice about, like, I know for us being forced to, but being able to spend that much time with our family and with our unit and our community was really, really important, and kind of focusing on that. And that was really the important thing in our lives. That was really, really nice. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Bye. Bye.